Hi, welcome to my colorblind painting video. This is the first in the series. Today I'll be painting a simple landscape. I'll be painting this one here. But before I get into that, I'll go over some stuff about color. So I'm colorblind, so I've had to figure out some ways to work around that when I paint. So what I use is I use 6 colors for my palette. Hansa Yellow Medium, Cadmium Orange, Bright Red, Dioxazine Purple, Ultramarine Blue, and Permanent Green Light. In the middle, we've got some more neutral colors that I sometimes use, Raw Sienna and Burnt Umber. So I'll get back to some details on this. First I'll just go over a couple key terms. So value is the lightness or darkness of a color, and saturation is the intensity of the color. So here I've got the colors kind of corresponding to the value chart here. And these are saturated colors, and these are desaturated or neutral colors. The way I neutralized these was by using complementary colors, which we'll get into on the color wheel. And we'll go over that now. So the complementary colors are the opposite ones on the color wheel, just cutting straight across. So anytime you cut across the color wheel, when you mix colors, you get a dull color. So if I want a dull yellow, I would mix a tiny bit of purple. That's also going to make it significantly darker, so I would add some white as well. The color wheel is kind of divided into darker colors on the bottom, lighter colors on the top. It's also got your warm colors on this side, your cool colors on this side. The yellow, orange, and red are your warms. Purple, blue, and green are your cools. And again, as you get to the center, you get more neutral colors. So cutting straight across, you get dark grays and browns. But even cutting across this way, so if I wanted to mix an orange, I could mix with these two colors, but it would be kind of a dull orange. So I like to use paints that are pure pigments out of the tube. So cadmium orange is a cadmium orange pigment. The only one on this wheel that's a mixture is this green, and I use it just because I like it. But it's not quite as saturated as some other greens. So, as I said, when mixing, I could mix my orange with these. These are your primary colors, the yellow, red, and blue. And I could mix my orange with these ones, the red and the blue to make a purple, and the blue and the yellow to make a green. But again, I like to use very saturated colors, partly because I'm colorblind. And it's easier for me to tell a saturated orange, rather than if I mixed it, it'd be a little bit duller, and I might not be able to tell if it was a green or an orange. So that's why I like to use the saturated colors straight out of the tube. So for another thing I like to do, since I'm colorblind, is I like to work out my palette, which is just the colors I'm going to use. I work that out beforehand for each painting. Actually, not necessarily each painting, but I've done dozens and dozens of these. So I don't necessarily do it before each painting, but for the purposes of this video, we'll do it for this painting we're going to do. I'll do a color chart. This is a limited palette. I used Hansa Yellow Medium, white. The white is a mixture of titanium and flake white, ultramarine blue, and ivory black. So I mark my proportions of each color. So 1 part yellow, 3 parts white gives me a pale yellow. And I write all this down so that as I'm working, like the paints get mixed up. I can't necessarily tell what color is on there anymore, but I use this chart to kind of keep me grounded. I have a light blue with the proportions there, a dark blue with the proportions. The yellow and the black make a green, and that's kind of a duller green, and this is a more saturated green. So this green is made from the blue and the yellow, 1 part blue, 4 parts yellow. And this is 1 part black, 4 parts yellow. So I'll quickly go over kind of the composition of this painting. So I've marked out thirds on this canvas, and I'm going to draw out quickly the main lines of this to give me this. What this does is it helps me give myself a grounded painting. So I'll quickly draw this out. And this hill, if I was to copy the picture, this might start down here. But I want to use my guidelines to form my main lines. So I'll try cutting through there, and I'll come above it. And then this I want somewhere down there. So that's close enough. These mountains here, I'll start them right about there. They come down a little bit. And that's really all I need to get started. I have a couple hills here, but that'll get covered up. And then I will just erase my guidelines. I don't have to be too careful about this, because I'm going to put the paint on fairly thickly. And also quickly go over the materials I'll be using. I like to use Gamblin and Winsor & Newton, so I've got my 3 primary colors there. They're both good oil paints. And I also use a liquid impasto, which is a medium that speeds drying. What I do is I get a plastic bag. I put just about full in the corner of my color, and then I add about 30% of the liquid impasto. I tie a knot in it, and then I just mix it up. And then when I'm ready to use it, I just cut the tip off there. I'll be doing this painting with palette knives. All you need is 1 or 2 to get started. You can use just the hardware store one for the bigger areas. And I've also got just some strips of laminate countertop. Those are sometimes handy. And I'm not going to use any brushes for this one. So I'll get this taped up here. I've got my quick drawing. I'll put my paints up. Again, if you're colorblind, it's a good idea to lay your paints out in the same order every time. So you always need quite a bit of white. I like these bags because if I run out of a color, I don't have to mix it with the medium again. I just use that. And depending how colorblind you are, you might want to label these as well. But I like to choose palettes where I can tell what I'm working with. So we're all set up to paint, so I'll shut the video down and I'll start painting on the next one. Thanks for watching.